Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are Hangin' Bangin' Artists on Lockdown, week 39. We've been doing it every single week. I'm Ron Onesti here, rock and roll heaven in St. Charles at the Arcada Theater, just outside of Chicago, with my two brothers, where we meet every week to talk to the biggest names in rock and roll. And tonight, a very special edition of Hangin' Bangin', because we've got guys who are normally got guitars, drumsticks, keyboards in front of them. These guys have microphones in front of them, just like we do here tonight. So let's start the show with bringing my two brothers on. First, my lateral brother, because he picks on me a lot, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. You know him from Dio. You know him from Last in Line. You know him from Black Sabbath. Vinny Appice, the legend himself. Where are you at there, Vin? Now, so you guys pick on me for all kinds of things. Now, I got dressed up for you personally. Am I?
Where's Ron? What's with that? Look at that sweater and the jacket. Oh, wow.
Am I impressing you a little bit?
Yes. I wore green for you, so it's not black. See?
I appreciate that.
I very rarely wear the colors now, so I thought I'd wear green for Ron.
Appreciate that. Hey, let's bring our big brother to the microphone. You know him from Jeff Beck, Rod Stewart, and of course, the Fudge, the legendary Carmine Appice.
Hey!
There he is.
I'm a piece.
I know.
You fucker.
You made a mistake.
Hey, how you doing? Look, I'm all heavy metaled out. I got a heavy chain. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I wore something. I never wear stuff for writing.
And you wear
what's it say?
Yeah, I thought I'd be.
What's it say with writing? What's it say?
Affliction.
Nobody wears those anymore. Shut
up, you. Hey, you know what? Hey, good thing is last week's show was put on Blabbermouth. Did you know that?
What's that?
You know that? Last week's show was put on Blabbermouth.
And also metal.
And the whole thing, yeah. And I love Blabbermouth, but you know, the problem with Blabbermouth is for me, every time we do the comments, everyone says that I'm wearing a wig.
No, right? You got a great head of hair.
I'm here to show this is my hair. See, it's not a wig. You see, there's all kinds of gray under there. I'm growing it out. It's all my hair.
Ron's wearing a wig. Ron's wearing a wig.
Yes, it's a very special flesh-colored wig that I like to wear.
It's attached to the jacket.
Oh boy!
I mean,
don't take the jacket off.
No, you don't want that. Where are you, Vinny? I can't tell you how much I love your background of that wall and couch. It's nice.
Isn't it nice? Look at that. Look, it's all. I'm gonna paint this room. It's too light.
Gotta do something.
This was the old girlfriend color or something. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Too light. So we will paint it dark.
Is a really special show, guys. I mean, this is you know. Maybe you guys, I know you guys don't feel the pressure. I mean, I'm always around you, legends, icons, you're Ted Nugents, you're all these guys, Bumblefoot, you know, and those are big-time musicians. Tonight, we've got guys that are regularly behind the microphone, and this is a little intimidating.
Yeah, you know what? Right. Hey, I had a good friend of mine, AJ, that runs a radio station for Lehigh Valley College. He's probably watching. He said to me today when I talked to him, he said, gotta tell Ron he's doing a great job.
Wow, that means a lot.
So you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
No matter what Vinny says.
No matter what Vinny says. Well, let's get to our guest because I tell you what.
But you better be good today because you got the pros on here.
No, I'm nervous. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna give them like a word because those guys they can just run with a story. I'm just gonna say Zeppelin and then step back and for 20 minutes. I'm gonna say Beatles, step back for 20 minutes. It's going to be easy, but I am intimidated.
Oh, yeah.
Let's bring these guys again. I'm very excited. We got one guy that's going to meet us in a few minutes because he's just getting off the air. But our first guest, this guy, see, you know, I'm in Chicago. You guys are out there. Well, you're in Florida, but you're East Coast guys, obviously Brooklyn guys originally. And so's this guy is in California, but he is syndicated all over the country. And we listen to him out here. Not too far from me is this little town called Rockford we're going to talk about. We listen to him on KGL. Let's bring Uncle Joe Benson to the
Hey!
Hi.
There's that voice.
Uncle Joe.
I'm already intimidated.
Don't be intimidated. Just you promised me one of those jackets exactly like yours.
Absolutely.
It has to be big enough. That's
Well, here,
exactly what I
now,
would never
you know,
mind
we're
that.
Uncle Joe, we're all Italian over here, and he passed away, unfortunately, an Italian dad, and let's see, look, there's his name. My dad made this jacket. It was a tailor. My dad.
Nice.
So I'm wearing it.
So there's only one in the world then of that jacket.
Thank God, right? Go ahead.
That's good. That's good. It's just,
to be two by the time we're done tonight. Two of them. Okay.
Uncle Joe, this is going to be a tough hour because of these two guys. I'm just telling you, they're very difficult.
You know, Ron, you failed to say that Joe was on the air at KLOS for so long. That's where we met Joe, and he has that voice that whenever you know when he was on, no matter who was on, when that voice came on the radio, you knew it was him. And we did a lot of great stuff together. We did my drum offs together. We did a lot of promotions. Me and Vinny did interviews with him together.
We had so much fun, and that's not always the way it is with some musicians who aren't here, aren't going to be mentioned by name either along the way. But I was in the Midwest until I was in Cleveland doing mornings. Was I doing mornings there? Why was I doing that? Oh, that's what I did so much of. And then I came out here in 80.
There we go.
Oh my God, look at that. Man. That's exactly what the interviews are like with these guys. And,
believe me, I know.
Look at that.
That's a couple of cannolis earlier.
Between me, I'm like the sausage between the bottle.
It's a meatball sandwich there.
Yeah, it is. It was definitely an Italian kind of session you had last week. It was the last week you had everybody was.
A lot of weeks, actually.
A lot of weeks. Yeah.
Just the
so
same.
let's bring to the mic. We have another guest I'd like to bring just in this conversation because, again, these guys are legends behind the microphone. This guy's got a podcast that's really, really popular these days called Concert Pipeline. It's what I love about it. I'm going to talk to him about it in a minute. Is just the variety. It's really, really something. Let's bring Steve Jones to the microphone. Hello, Steve.
Hey, how's it going, Ron? I know you said there was only one of those jackets, but your dad actually made me one. I was going to wear it today, but
oh man,
we got to come back.
Wow, boy,
you guys.
So, Steve, you actually had the $5,000 that he would have charged you, really?
He said it was on the house. So
yeah, what's your problem with him? That's the question.
Man, well, good to see you guys, Steve. Welcome. I see you got a great background. We know you're on your vineyard back there.
I am.
So you're at about 300 shows or so. Is that right with Concert Pipeline?
Yeah, we're hitting 300 in a couple weeks, and we keep on rolling. I mean, you'd think the COVID would slow things down, but it actually opened up for us to interview bands around the world and bring a lot more guests in. It's really cool.
I love your variety. I was telling these guys earlier, And before we get into all this stuff, guys, let's just talk really briefly about this whole COVID thing. I mean, typically, these guys, they're touring, they can't tour. I put on shows, I can't have bands coming in. But your worlds, I mean, it hasn't really stopped. I mean, if anything, it's giving you more material. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot more somber. Of course, I'm working in classic rock. I think everybody's touching on that somewhere along the line, and we're dealing with people that you worry now about will Mick Jagger make it until we're done with this? Whatever is hitting us right now is going to be what's going to happen, and to go an entire year without working, they're going crazy.
Have you seen a recent picture of Jagger? I mean, he's always. I mean, he hasn't been. A looker, let's call him. But lately, I mean, he's actually officially hit the old man thing. I mean, my gosh, it's really affected him, this thing.
Yes. Hey, Ron, yeah. We have a surprise for you. We got Mick Jagger here in the room with you.
Mick Jagger. This is how they bust my chops, guys. They really, really do.
He wants to have a word with you.
Whoa!
So the intimidating thing about there he is. That's not what I can tell you that. Yeah.
You see that?
It's hard to see him.
You got him on FaceTime there, right, Carmine?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I just pulled up Mick Jagger. Oh my God, he looks worse than my arms look. I'm looking at my arms. I look at my arms. Whose arms are those? They're not my arms anymore. But yeah, getting old does suck.
Yeah, man, it's a tough one. Uncle Joe, it's really cool to talk to you because I'm outside of Chicago, and I've done a lot of things in Rockford, and I know we know you from KGL out in Rockford, and
I believe they are operating some of my shows around there as well.
They
an outstanding radio station, one of my favorite.
Well, they definitely are, and I just the intimidating thing about you really, I call it intimidating, isn't as much as being on the air like you are, but your knowledge of classic rock, of everybody's shoe size that you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. How did you come up with the concept of the radio guides? Because those are, I've used them. Those are amazing publications you put together.
One of the things that I'm famous for is doing something that later becomes a very successful business. But I'm the guy who sets it up in the first time like that. I've always been more interested in the music and the musicians and what they're playing and what they're going through than how many times Keith Richards had his blood changed, which not one I understand, but just the same. And I get to
suggesting he has blood.
I know, and I've owned all of the let's not go there right now.
Right.
And the people I've worked with, starting in the late '68 was when I was first on the radio, and '70 by then people are coming through like the original REO Speedwagon and Styx have been around for a long time, and you name her. Seeger had been by, but I missed him when he came through town at that point in time. And I've known everybody since it went along. And we were joking about this before. If they're an asshole, they're not coming back near me because I got enough of those to choose from in the first place to stay away from them. But over the years, we find people who have survived all kinds of stuff. And by the time I got here in, where was I at? I was in KLOS in 79, I think it was, 80, something like that. 10 years after I started into radio, as in Los Angeles. And you start running into people there, and I run into Carmine about this kind of thing. And what do you want to do? Well, nobody's made any rules yet we can break, so we're going to have drummers come up here. Great. They have to wear clothes? I don't want anything like that. And then we see, of course, the one girl that was different. I don't know what you're talking about. So, and you see the things you go out and you play. We at the park at one point had like 5,000 people or something like that.
Oh, 10,000. 10,000 people. Yeah, man.
God. And they're drummers. So, and they're very competitive. The rest of the music world is not competitive. Guitarists never argue with each other.
Oh, no.
And how are the wrists hanging? It's just the same. And I've been around for that kind of stuff. And doing the Seventh Day was a program we came up with where we 7 albums a night. And I had a little story behind each one.
Yeah.
And then I began to realize people are really paying attention. So I did more and more research, like I should have done in school. Mm-hmm. And I came up with, you got pages of... grab one of my books around here, show them off. I'll sell it to somebody along the way.
Incredible.
But I was working on, I needed scripts for what I was doing. I've been writing all my entire life, usually on schedule, and came out with that's the one there. So I'll just break out a book. It's going to be easy because everybody prints. There was no digital at that point in time. So I had pages and pages and pages and tons of wire and all this kind of stuff. So we started, people call and they want a copy of this, so we'll make a book out of it. And by God, in those days, you were making a book out, just like a pain-in-the-ass program to do in the first place. And then suddenly, people want more books. Well, that's unusual in rock and roll music. I pick the one with the cover on it. I don't want that one. It's the second shelf, I believe.
Let me tell you something. Your radio guides, and this is something, Carmine, Vinny, this is something that we should tell our people here because – you guys, you musicians, instrumentalists. You go to parties, you give each other gifts. You bring a bottle of wine. You do this. This is a great gift to give a musician. I'm just telling you, these are great Christmas gifts. Great because the amount of information is unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
That's it. There we go. There it goes. It's just like, and that's Carmine with his pants on there. Oh, no, that's Jimmy Page. That's completely different.
Pants.
In the back of that, you see, I was racing back then as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's why I have no money. No, sorry, kids, you cannot go to college. We have businesses to do. And the thing, you could lay down into that, and it made it more easy at that point in time. So many talented people were getting shut out by the grunge or by the whatever the hell the current thing was, the 2-year favorite things going on someplace along the line. And suddenly people started, Ian Anderson was one of the first ones, and that talking with him. He said, you're the person we've been looking for that is not a biased individual, and this is the way the story goes. And we spent several times with Ian and Martin Bear and all that stuff going over details. They get a call at 4:00 in the morning because they're in Poland someplace playing
Right.
someplace, and they wanted me to know that it was the Black Knights of such and such. That's great news. Thank you very much. And it ended up, as things went through, the people I've dealt with have been so lucky with. There's two I haven't been able to get to for various reasons. And the rest of them have been just outgoing, unbelievable. And you get Steve Perry, I think I was the first person he spoke in great detail once the world was changing for him. And
Right.
carried over to other people as well. Everybody had something to identify with. These are humans behind. And the ones who are jacks, are asses, I don't deal with them.
Sure.
So there's some reasons why you're here and they aren't is another way to talk about it.
You talk about Ian Anderson. I mean, that had to be he's known for not being just a straight shooting kind of interview. Is kind of an odd individual. But in fact, Martin Barr, I talked to actually today, just to tell him that I talked to him specifically 2 hours ago because we were going to do some things this year, and he decided nothing in 21. Just put everything. I have 2 or 3 shows with him. He's putting everything at 22 now. He's not even looking at 21. Isn't that terrible?
I'm going to have to grab him.
I talked to him today.
I'm impressed. I got to go talk to him now. Is he still waiting a lot?
Yeah, go ahead. I want to talk to
Ian Anderson. Let me finish an Ian Anderson thing.
Please, yes.
Something about him that was different than anybody else. I use Slade as a picnic. Those guys are really good too. And Ian Anderson, the guys put together the record company and all that kind of stuff. And the rules were, we'll give you the cash. Half of it goes to buying property. Because in 20 years, when you're no longer a big star, you're going to have property the trees will be coming mature and the fields will be all that stuff. He ended up owning the entire Scottish fish farm because that's the kind of guy he is that way. And everything is always done that way. This is the music. This is the way it's going to go. And yes, he could be cantankerous, but
cantankerous. That's the first word I would think of when I think about Anderson. Cantankerous. You've done these great podcasts, and I tell you what, I've done, I've looked at several of them, and it's amazing to me your variety, the scope that you have. I mean, you go from, and it sounds to me like you started this really, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like you're a fan, just want to talk to some of your legends and icons, but now you're talking to like Gary Oldman, which just blows me away.
Yeah. Oh, and that show in particular, I mean, I could talk for an hour just on that show because, I mean, he played a Bowie celebration in San Francisco where there were 75 musicians playing throughout the night. It was the most amazing concert ever. And we're actually promoting, they're re-airing that show from San Francisco from 5 years ago. So we're working with them to promote that on our next episode. But Gary Oldman, being tied into that, it was great to just talk to him about Bowie and FaceTiming Bowie on Sundays, and his memories there. But then to have all these musicians come together and pay respect to Bowie, and including, we interviewed Jerry Harrison from Talking Heads that night, and Holly Palmer from Bowie's band, and a bunch of other people as well. I mean, that show is incredible, and
Let me ask you, did he touch, I mean, this is kind of off topic really, but did he touch at all on his portrayal of Lee Harvey Oswald in JFK?
No, I didn't get there. I tried to keep it as much on Bowie, and
and you should have.
It was a different sort of atmosphere. I would have gone, more in depth in different areas with that, but with that night, I was just trying to really focus on, Bowie and celebrating David Bowie really, because he was the star of that evening.
And you would never think a guy like that, I mean, he's not the first guy you think about when you think about Bowie celebration.
No, or music, or singing or anything along those lines, which made it even more incredible. It was a magical evening, I'll tell you.
Uncle Joe, give me from, I don't want to harp on the radio guides, but I just love them so much because they're so full of trivia and, facts. And is there anything, a guy of your stature, a guy of your celebrity, a guy of your experience, is there anything that
thank you very much, Jerry.
that, a fact or some little bit of trivia that even blew you away out of your own books?
Oh, indeed. The books, the one that I just showed you here, this one, there's a misset date for somebody's birth. And the one thing you want to do, everybody in that band got a hold of a copy of the book, and they're like, hey, you got the real number for him. Not many people have that. And you think, well, that's kind of strange and all that stuff going on. But when it comes to actually things that, what was the question? I'm going before I go into the hole over here. What was the question again? We
Ron.
don't know. There we go. Okay, Ron.
Yeah.
Hell of it. Okay. I've spaced on it, though. What was I talking about?
Give me a story, Joe.
You want a story? Okay.
I want a story that's in your books, your radio guides.
One of the things about the surprises you find out, it so happens that I have a son who's a guitar player and probably knows more about anything to do with the Beatles than anybody, because he's young and hasn't realized the things that can distract you. And so he's said over the years, I've written several books on the Beatles. I've done lots of things on those kinds of guys because they're fascinating. They're so brilliant and still, they were just kids. And there were so many things. Take a vacation. You won't like it. Okay, that kind of stuff is going on like that. But you see those kind of things, and you find out that, there was one here the other week that you pulled of, was it Led Zeppelin, and they pulled off the sound of one of the guitars, because these books are just, I'm looking for that now.
I know it's interesting.
I'll find it by the end, but the books are there, so you finally have books to see pictures of what the instruments look like, to all these guys work and all these things. You go, that's amazing how they did that kind of stuff. And the kind of things that these guys over here on the other side of the screen here, Carmine and Vinny, not only is a family operation, but also a great sense of humor. And the instruments stories we've heard about these, about who they were playing with, how intense it was, and how one of these two people actually played with the Beatles, or a Beatle, as the case may be, and that would be the last person in the world I would expect ever to have him do it. Of course, he was a very childish.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Hey, watch it.
There's so many things, and when we're dealing with what the three of us, what you haven't here are three guys working in radio yet. We're still on the air, and there's not many of us left. So I'm behaving real well. And
like I just mentioned about Steve's variety and his scope, just like yours. I mean, you not only have music, but you see even your comments of you go from Jean-Paul Sartre to George Carlin and everything in between.
Amen. Yep.
As a matter of fact, one quote that I liked about George Carlin, he talked about. Let me think. It was like. It was how he defined fast food. Fast food to him is a cheetah eating an antelope. Now that's fast food.
There are so many. I can't go into that. I was involved with not musicians, comedians for many years. Part of my shows at the KLOS and the other places as well. They always had a night we went out and did things, and I played laughter on the radio. It was so radical. He's playing comedy things in a record. It was so much idiotic by management. God bless them all, and we wish them the best. But at the same time, comedians come in, and they're there for the moment. That's it. They might not remember the joke from 2 weeks ago. Don't bring that up. That's an old one. That kind of stuff's crazy, because the guitarists, they're picking it up more and more and going on. The drummers, there's always something going on, a little clip in there, the kind of things. Just over the past, you were talking about something 5 years ago, a thing for Bowie that you guys put together. And there was at the same time that Emerson, Keith Emerson. Yeah, we had a giant thing put together in tribute to him. And here we're dealing with musicians who are the absolute top of the most difficult stuff in the world. These are the guys that they went home and did more practice after they had their lesson, and then stayed up all night playing the same instrument over and over and over like that. And brilliant artists. There were no guests. There were no guests. There were no assholes that were allowed in the thing like that. It was just pretty amazing for people of the ilk that was going on. And it was the same thing as you're talking about there. Everybody was trying their hardest to play these complex things, the best that their bands could. We loved him so much. Loved him so much for the things he did, the music he brought on that. He had everybody from Jeff Skunk Baxter, with the biggest mustaches in the world, and stuff. They were just everything about it was just amazing. And it's coming out Monday on DVD, I believe, or whatever the process is these days. Is finally coming out. It's brilliant. And it reminded me that the really good musicians, and everybody here is included. Well, Ron, and
not you.
It's the timing. It's the timing. It's only the timing. But all these people are so respectful of the music, and that's what I don't need. The people that light their hair on fire and have all that kind of stuff. That's
or turn it purple.
No, purple's okay. Yeah, purple's okay. I
Steve,
like the
let me
green
ask
better.
you real quick. And we're talking. Uncle Joe's talking about some of the things that lights his fire. Now, again, we talked a little bit earlier about, or touched how you really got in this. You started as a fan, like, wow, maybe I could talk to my legend, my hero. Who was the hero that you really aimed for at the beginning that got you this whole podcast thing in the first place?
Oh, I know you guys have had Ted Nugent on a couple of times, and I would say he's one of the most interesting interviews that I've done in, that 15, 20 years or whatever I've been interviewing bands. I mean, just to sit down with him for half an hour was incredible, and really, a memorable moment for me. As far as, for me, one of my favorites, though, I mean, I'd say someone you guys probably don't know, but his name is Andrew McMahon. He's had a handful of bands, and he's a piano rock guy. And just getting to interview him a number of times, I mean, has been so cool. And even kind of getting him, like when I was doing this in college even, and he came to my college dorm. So it's one of those experiences, right, where your hero is in your home, really, and to get to interview your hero in your home is a pretty cool thing.
But let me throw the curveball at you. How about the other side of the coin? The guy that the person you were so excited, and he turned out to be what Uncle Joe likes to call an asshole.
Well,
okay.
Did you get that properly? Say they're an asshole? Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay, but better not do that. Okay.
I'll share the story. So I'm going to throw it out here, and I'm sorry.
Before you do that, it's not anybody on this.
It's not, but I would say it's probably likely someone that you guys have worked with. And I had an adverse situation with Danzig, I'll say.
Stop there. Man. Stop there.
And yeah, is that enough? Is that enough of the story?
Say no more.
Well, let me tell you a little story today. Our guitar player with Cactus is a guy named Paul Warren. He played on his original song he ever played on was Pop Was Like a Rolling Stone, right? So we have the new Cactus record coming out April 2nd. So I sent a plug. So I sent a copy of one of the songs to Uncle Ted, right? To Ted. And Ted came back and said, "Oh man, that's killer. Who's the guitar player?" I said, "Well, he's another Detroit guy named Paul Warren who played with Rod and Joe Cocker and Tina Turner and all that." So he said, "Oh, I'd love to talk to him." So I gave Ted Paul's number, and they talked. So today I talked to Paul, and he said, I talked to Ted, and it was really a great concept about how we used to record in Motown. It was all done in one room, in one take. There was no multiple takes, usually 1 to 3 takes. Everything was done all at once, and it was great. And he said, then I said, "Well, when did you first meet Ted?" He said, "Well, I met Ted when I was 14 years old. He was playing at somewhere, and Paul went to see him, and he went into the bathroom, and at the urinal was him and Ted talking." Right? So Paul says, "Oh, I really love your new album. You're a great guitar player." So Ted says something like, "I'm the greatest," Yeah. And then they start talking, and Paul says, "Well, what about Jimi Hendrix?" He goes, "He's pretty great too," Ted says. Really funny, I mean, but Ted, like great interview. I mean, we had a great time with Ted on here. I know, Joe, you've had him on your show many times.
Yeah.
He's like, when we had him on our show, we couldn't get a word in.
I know. Twice.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Now,
love Ted.
Jerry's a great guy in the Misfits. I mean, we're very, we talk a lot, a sweetheart, a professional, loves the fans, very generous. So let's talk about Danzig. What was that like?
Danzig.
Okay, so
how long do you think I'm going to live? That's another question like that. So
we had an issue with Danzig with Black Sabbath.
Sorry, Steve.
We were actually at a radio station, and we were being interviewed first, and then Danzig, and I don't know what went down, but there was almost a fight in the green room. And that's like, with Black Sabbath, these guys started, not start the fight, but start while you're here.
Well, that's all right. We almost had a fight with them with Cactus on one of their first gigs in America. Yeah, which was fun. Over a bag of pot. I think I mentioned that on the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. But for one, I would like to hear Steve Jones Danzig's story. Call me crazy.
You're crazy. No. So I was supposed to interview him at like 5:30 in the afternoon, right before the show, and it didn't happen. It was pushed back for whatever reason. There was more drama that went on that night. Also, like I got locked out of my car. I was not in a great mood. But after the show, I was persistent. Right, the interview was set up and it was going to happen. I knew his publicist, and I wasn't leaving without the interview. Right, and so like 1:30 in the morning. I finally get on the tour bus to do the interview or doing the interview. And, I went to an area I probably shouldn't have. I talked about the Misfits and, asked him about them going on without him. And he denied that it had happened.
Yeah,
and
sounds like him.
Yeah. And I, I wasn't the biggest Misfits fan. And I couldn't really probably hold my own in a Misfits,
not at all.
With Danzig, right? I figured he probably would, but I was like, well, they kind of did, right? He's like, no. And then he, he said, well, you were smart, but now you're pretty dumb, and I'll just say the interview didn't go up from there too much. So it was a memorable moment.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve. Steve, we got a surprise for you.
Oh, here. Oh, you got Danzig. Okay, great.
Let's bring him in.
Nick Jagger. Well, listen, guys, we have another guest to bring to the mic.
Yeah, he has a surprise for us now.
Yes, I do. I have a surprise for this guy. Really big. I know you Brooklyn boys all stick together, and that's where this guy's from. Let's bring him to the microphone from Q104.3 WAXQ. Ken Dashow. Let's bring him up to the microphone.
Yeah.
There he is. There he is.
He's a circle. He's a circle.
He's a circle.
We got to get locked in on his coordinates for this to work.
Okay.
Like the transfer.
Any more Danzig stories? No, it's okay. Let's go back. Anybody about Danzig?
Oh my God!
I got one about people who impose that are things like, Vinny has worked for many heavy bands and Carmine as well, but there was one in particular that we were doing a Bonzo gig, inhaling to Bonzo, the drummer.
Yeah, the Bonzo Bash. Bonzo Bash.
Yeah, and then at one of the shows, and Michael Devon was a great bass player. Love him to death. And he brought in his the most precious amplifier he's had his whole life and all that stuff running because this is going to be perfect because Vinny's going to come in and play this. I don't remember what the song was, but damn heavy is what it was. And I know him quite well, and I kind of figured something might happen. But so Devin's out there, the band's out there, going blah blah. And they said, okay, and we're doing the intro and we're doing a song. We decided to play some song from this band, and this guy will play something else like that. Whatever it was, it went into it. And then suddenly, Devin's over there playing, and Vinny walks in. He says, "Louder."
Yep.
He goes over, turns off. I said louder.
That
And you
sounds
just look
like
at this guy is just the face of Satan is going, this is too loud, louder like that. And the third or fourth time he turned up there, blew the amplifier up.
Yep.
And smoke came out of flames out, and Devin's going, oh my God. And Vinny's going,
You remember that, Vinny? You remember that, Vinny?
Yeah. I was just trying to get a level, like there's no time for sound checks. How loud are you? I'm not going to hear that, Crank it up.
It was great.
Make it loud.
Yeah.
Well, I just love the whole. I mean, I think you nailed it, Uncle Joe, when you poetically and so artistically referred to Vinny as the face of Satan. I think you nailed it. I think you.
Yeah, especially with that white wall behind him.
What is that? You ever pick on me for my background, Mr. Appice?
Now, kids.
That's right.
White all.
I got more black than Vinny does today.
What's going on?
Yeah, I lost all my gold records behind the black sheets. I'm shooting videos in there.
Whoa.
No, I got the gardeners are still making noise. So
yeah, I was looking forward. Vinny moved the studio into another room in the house. I was looking forward to seeing it today.
Go in there now.
Oh, all right, here we go. A little studio tour of Vinny's new room.
Maybe Danzig's in there. Who knows? Let's see. I leave the light on.
Are you kidding
me?
We're resorting
There's the new studio. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, there's the black. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, much bigger.
It's legit.
Bigger,
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
bigger. That's where I play. There it is.
You could actually have a band rehearsal in there.
Yeah, it's big.
There's
And I
Yeah,
got
it is good. Yeah, it's good.
all the blankets all over the wall.
Hey Ken,
Yeah.
welcome to the Housekeeping Network. We're doing a DIY
Ken.
episode tonight,
Yeah.
and
Ken.
hey Ken,
Okay.
welcome. What is he frozen?
Uh-oh.
Yes, Ken.
I think Ken's frozen.
This is
Uh-oh.
a tough one. Well,
this is,
Vinny's crotch, which was nice. So this
Vinny, that's better. That's a better look.
you are.
Yeah.
It's a better
Well,
look.
I think Ken
Well-
didn't go to the transporter room, and we lost his coordinates.
I tell you, you know what? I think I just want to talk to Steve and Uncle Joe. I think that's.
No, here he comes.
Oh,
Here he
he's
comes.
trying
Let's
again.
again.
Well, we're trying to hook that up. One of the things that Steve was talking about in the variety of music that he gets to play, that
Yeah.
we all at some time in our long time ago was able to play. That's the way music was in the '60s, and all kinds of things happened in early '70s. Same way. You played this next to that and that and that. It's great, and it's radio
Weren't
was
you,
not
weren't
like
you
that
kind of
anymore.
governed by a format?
There he is.
No formats until
Still
around the
frozen.
'80s,
Really?
and that's where I've been four different genres of music.
Ken?
Is that
Hey, Carmine,
Hey, dude.
Hey Ken,
I can hear you.
Yeah,
I came out of like digital stutter, and I can actually see you guys. How are you? How's
Oh.
everybody?
welcome.
what a drag for you?
You're running a slow motion with your video, but we could hear you. But
Okay, so hopefully it'll catch up to speed because I can see you guys fine now. Finally, I can see
yeah,
you guys.
good.
How's everybody?
Good, man.
Welcome to the show,
Great to see
Ken.
you. Welcome, man.
How'd it
We're
go?
having
All's
we're having
good.
a good time. We're all having a good
We're
time.
rocking and rolling here. Good to see you, Ken. How you been holding up during the whole COVID thing?
I've been lucky to be working. I'm sure like Joe, it's been the godsend was working. I have a nice home studio, so I've been working. I was working from home until Labor Day. Then I was the canary in the coal mine. I got to come back to the radio station, and if I didn't keel over, then Maria Melito came back. So being back at my desk, being able to work and have a mixing board and really do the show the way I did, that was a godsend. That was great.
Yeah, I just came back from New York yesterday. Me and Leslie were there for a few days.
Oh, you
It's
went to New York?
Yeah, it's unbelievable what they're doing with the restaurants and everything. I mean, there's no cabs anywhere anymore. No people on the street. I tried to go to a coffee with Steve Smith, who lives 2 blocks away from us when he's there, and he said, "Let's go to this little coffee shop." So I walk in there. I got there first, and they have the area where they seat blocked off. I said, "I want to get some coffee. Sit down with a friend of mine. Can I do that?" I said, "Oh no, you got to sit outside." I said, "Dude, it's 25 degrees outside." I said, "I'm not going to sit outside." So we ended up we went to a diner that was all partitioned off and there was nobody in it. And we went in there, hung out for an hour. What a great guy. Steve's going to do the show in the future.
But I mean, Carmine, that's a slice of it. To me, I take a cab every day. There's plenty of cabs. I take the subway every day. Never had a problem.
Wow.
And as somebody who stayed, I love that there's partitions. I love that I can be safe and go to the diner. I can go where I need to go. Now that the bars are open again and we're back to it, the whole thing to me about is doing it safely, little bit, step by step.
Yeah.
We lost what we lost, but it's going to come back. It's just a question of when.
Yeah.
And I just am very excited that I'm going to get my first vaccination tomorrow. I get on the vaccination train, so psyched for that. And maybe we get to ball games and concerts by this summer.
I got my 2. I'm supposed to be clean now.
I would never say that about you ever.
Never.
That's the first time for everything. So
That's right. Thank you, Joe.
I got my first this weekend too. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. What about you, Vinny?
I
Joe?
don't like that stuff. No, I'm going to wait and see who dies and gets sick first.
Oh,
and
great.
then
Yeah,
I'll
it'd
sit.
probably be your brother, right?
Oh, God forbid.
I hear bad things with some of that stuff, so I don't know.
What about
haven't
you,
gotten
Joe?
sick,
Did you get it,
so-
Joe?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Not that I'm older than all of you. I don't know if it.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to
I'm-
get it yet.
I got to tell you, I've been on the air for 50 years. I've been broke most of that time. I got to work as much as I can now, and that's the way it is. I'm playing music I fucking love and playing the same kind of stuff we did before. I got all kinds of I got a story every day. It's one of the things from the interview. Got all the elements going in there, and it's fun as opposed to having here's a note from the sales department today that says you need 10 seconds before you do it. So it's like that. And I don't know where you guys you work in modern things. I would assume. I'm
Joe, we didn't tell you, but we got a 10-second break coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, 10 seconds. Match your market like that. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody step to the back. And further on down the road, ladies and gentlemen, here he comes right now. Where'd he go? Sorry, he didn't disappear again.
Okay. We got to have you guys record some intros for us.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Ken, and you are hanging and banging with guys from Brooklyn.
Hey, Ron, you got to pay for those intros. Come on, look at this.
I will definitely send Steve that bill. Absolutely.
Hey, Joe was on our Drum Wars intro tape when we played shows together. He introduced every night in this corner.
I forgot. Yeah, we got Joe doing our intro tape.
I told him what to say on some of the things, like I weigh 170 pounds, and he made a comment. Then I said, Carlin plays double bass to burn more calories. He's like 300 pounds. And he used to come out with a pillow in his belly too.
Yeah.
People crack it up.
Hilarious.
That was a great intro.
Hey, Uncle Joe and Ken, Steve, 1 second, buddy. But these two guys, I want to ask them. You know, we all grew up with that, especially us baby boomers grew up with the whole DJ aspect, on-air personality. I mean, and literally personality, and where you bring so much. There's the song, but there's the song behind. I mean, the story behind the song. There's your input. There's maybe a quick little sound bite of a guest. All that stuff, and we see it even in Chicago. No, we had the Loop for 40 years, WLUP. We have obviously just legendary rock and roll. We're down to one classic rock station, and even that, I'll have like guys like Carmine or Vinny or Ted Nugent, whoever, come into my theaters, and I'll call, I'll try with the station. Hey, could we do an interview? Can we do? No, we don't do that anymore. We just have to. I mean, what kind of handcuffs are these stations starting to put on you guys?
I think Ken would be a good answer for that, but I don't know if you want to be honest.
Oh no, of course, it's easy to be honest. I get to do everything that I want to do that makes sense. People say, do they tell you what to play? Do they tell you who to interview? No, they just tell us to be successful. They just tell us to make people listen. Yeah. The days of we don't do it the way we used to do it, but we still do it. And some bands totally get it, and some bands don't. I'll give you an example of a guy who gets it, and a great drummer who's probably a friend of all of ours, Roger Earl of Foghat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Roger and Linda will call me up, go, Ken, got a new album coming out. We're playing a gig in town. What can we do to promote it? Come on up and we'll do this. We'll do a video chat. We'll do a Zoom that's on the website, and we tag Foghat, their website, in it. I'll play it back. I'll put it on the podcast, and we can fill a house for them and really sell it. And then I take a minute or two of it and play it on the air and say, you want to hear more? You go to Q1043.com. That's the new world. And it's the same thing, but it works for us.
Yes.
I mean, I used to love hanging with Carmine, or, Joe, I'm sure, like every artist that came up. It was just a different head of radio. People under 35 don't have the patience to hear us talk and play music for 20 minutes. It's not good or bad. It's just 2021.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you, Ken, because I got to tell you, I do these
said.
shows around the country and stuff, and what you're talking about was the way it was. That's the formula. That's where the DJs would practically partner with the acts and the promoters, and all of us. We all want to be successful. You probably would go to the venue and introduce the act. You would,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I don't know. Like I said, God bless you. You're still doing it. You're probably a party of one in the country that is still doing that, because it's just disappearing. How about you, Uncle Joe? Are you able to be a part of, or allowed to still bring what you used to bring to an interview?
I'm not interested in doing as much work as Ken is doing right now.
That's a full-time
I've been through that, because I've done mornings and whatnot and all the kind of stuff like that. Finally, we were talking about this earlier on here. It's about time for me to maybe go into semi-retirement. And I've got the syndicated show. I can do this kind of stuff and all that kind of things. And then it turns out I'm now on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 5 of it starts out every day. There's a new show and all that kind of stuff. But it's completely. You give it. I wanted a list of music. I wanted to know what you think we should be playing. And I've been in music directing all that, and you've been through it too, Ken. You know what's going to work, and you can do something like Foghat. You know exactly how to deal with them to take care of it. There's a lot of people, not a lot of people left to know what to do with that kind of stuff. And young people coming up like Jeremy and his band. Well, they shut down the world and don't let anybody out to do any business that way. But at the same time, kids are short time memory. Some of the things. So,
well, you bring that up, Uncle Joe. Steve, you talk about the kids. Steve, Gene Simmons has not been shy about how he feels about where rock and roll is going. Thank goodness Alice Cooper is coming to our rescue or to your generation's rescue. Gene Simmons is talking about like rock is dead and the music of today and the kids don't have any appreciation. All that stuff he's saying. What have you got to read? How old are you, Steve?
I'm 37.
Okay, so what have you got to say to a guy like Gene Simmons with those statements?
It's not. It's only as dead as you let it be dead is the thing, right? They've been saying that.
Amen to that.
They've been saying that for decades, right? I mean, that's a line in my favorite movie, Almost Famous. Like they've been saying rock is dead and trying to kill it forever, right? But but it is still alive. There are still great rock bands. The Foo Fighters are still around too, and I mean their new album, Medicine at Midnight is incredible, right? I mean, bands are still doing great rock and roll, and it's Carmine, your new single, Rock and Roll with Vanilla Fudge, right? I mean, that's awesome. I like it. It's a great take on that song, and rock is not dead. Concerts right now are, but I can't wait for those to come back. But we'll revive those, and rock will come back, and it's not gone.
For me, it's not what it was, and it's not ubiquitous the way it was. But for me, and Joe, I have a feeling you probably feel the same way. I'm passionate about it. I saw jazz radio and the jazz auteurs and classical radio kill their own format because they didn't want to play hit. That it was always programmed for the 8 guys at the back of the bookstore because playing something that was familiar wasn't cool enough. And listen, that's why there's non-com radio. That's its great job. That's what some of the satellite channels could do. If you're going to be healthy, if you're going to have a KLOS or Q104.3, we're going to play Comfortably Numb, the Eagles. Why do you guys play so much fucking Billy Joel? Oh, because a lot of people like Billy Joel. And it's just fine.
He's selling stadiums 7 nights in a row.
Right. And on the same show today that I played Billy Joel, I can also play The Offspring. And I can play Stone Temple Pilots, and I'm playing Hotel California. And if you establish a big parameter for the audience, I always said, like, rock and roll has the biggest tent in the fairground. Right. We don't say no prog, no this, no that. It was Chris Squire's birthday today. I played Starship Trooper live for 10 minutes. Wow. I mean, how did he play that? Because the audience has come to expect that they'll get that surprise. But the next song was Led Zeppelin. If they didn't like it or it was weird, the next song was something they loved. Yep. And I think if you prime the audience and tell them, look, sometimes it'll be a little weird, but next song is going to be a big monster hit. You'll be fine. Yep. I think they'll come along with you. I really do.
Yes,
well, like I said before, Ken, again, I got to say that your approach and your ability and what they allow you to do, I'm telling you, I'm not telling you your business, but from my perspective, what I see, very rare, because to play, you got Squire, and nobody, nobody, they'd be fired for doing that, and you talked about, we talked about rock is dead and you talk about jazz and even the stations that are trying to do a Dizzy, a Miles, a Charlie Parker, something like that. Those stations are still maintaining. It's interesting that those stations are still maintaining their ground. They're 0.14s, but they're still there. Versus the classic rock stations are just going away, and that's what I'm saying. God bless you, Ken, for what you're doing. Yeah. And we need you, 3,000 stations across the country need you. I'm just telling you that ability of something.
Yeah, if I wasn't semi-retired, I'd be trying to get into a job with you guys. Well,
Hell yeah,
it
man.
snows over there, though, doesn't it?
It does snow. It does snow here. Yeah.
Not here, not anymore.
Now,
And look at Steve gets to play with all kinds of format things that are. I mean, you got three employed talent in the room right here, and then the other guys as well. This is so fucking cool, though. This is exactly, you're doing what we tried to do with the places I've worked, and now I've come into this other one, and this is backing to people of our age, and a lot of young people as well. I use my son again as an example. A lot of young people appreciate how good the music was from the day, and how good some of the stuff was that gets played in that way, as opposed to the owners who come in, and I'll stop talking. I'll shut up after this. The new owners come in, the first thing they do is fire everybody they can. Get rid of everything that costs money, and then complain that the station isn't turning people around. You're not doing well enough like that. In every one of the companies, all three of the big three, and I was in two of the three, I think, something like that. It was like, get me out of here, please.
That happened to you a couple of years ago, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's been all kinds of stuff like that. It's amazing. Well, so there was talent, and then there was people. I haven't got any Christmas cards from them, so I don't know if I did something wrong, but just the same. This is a great little group here. Like, and by the okay, I'll just shut up.
Man, okay. What I would like to do is, I mean, we've got guys on the air tonight that are certified, card carrying, certificate on the wall Beatles experts.
Yes.
I mean, you know, and I also love your take, Steve, on any kind of Beatles aspect. But specifically, I want to bring up the Beatles because obviously, Ken, you're very involved with the Beatles. You involve the Beatles very much in your show, and Uncle Joe, again, your magazines, your radio guys have got tons of Beatles trivia on there. One of the favorite things that I've really enjoyed, I was looking through one of your magazines, Uncle Joe. This has got to be, I don't even know.
Have we taken a vote yet to see who knows how to spell anything yet?
No, not yet.
Not this one. Okay, yeah.
But you told a little blurb about, or you talked about in 1963 when the Beatles were just starting in that that February, just before the March that they really exploded. And you had Tommy Rowe with Sheila and Chris Montez with Let's Dance, right? And Tommy Rowe and Chris Montez, they go to England and they're met at the airport by these four guys. Their opening band, their support band, because those two guys went. Their band members didn't go. The two guys went, and they put a band together for them. And there's four guys with weird haircuts. And at the beginning, they were opening for them, then playing for them. And by the middle of that tour, it wound up that the Beatles, they blew up. And it wound up that Chris Montez and Tommy Rowe wound up opening up for the Beatles at the end of their tour. And because of what I read in your magazine, I got Tommy Rowe. I got Chris Montez. This is like 4 years ago. I got Chris Montez. I brought them. I got the local Beatles tribute band, and this whole thing, we reprinted the poster from the night, and it was incredible. They told the story, and it all came from me reading one of your magazines.
That's great.
That's awesome, man. Great.
Creative.
Yeah.
Anything else I can give him to sell?
Nice.
Okay.
All right, checks in the mail now. Steve, who's some of I've noticed? I mean, you're of the 300 plus podcasts you've done. I'm looking at these bands and I'd like to kid myself and think that I know, what I know about music and bands. I gotta say, I didn't know a whole lot of those bands. It's very eclectic.
Yeah.
Where do you get it from? Is it just your own personal?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it's kind of exploring, what's out there, concert pipeline stem from, going to concerts and interviewing bands at shows. So it would be whoever came to the Bay Area and big bands, small bands, whoever was interesting to me. Right. And, and then concerts stopped and so again, we have a chance to interview bands from around the world. So I'm interviewing bands in England, bands in Australia.
Love that.
And it's great to get to hear so many different flavors of music. And so, I mean, I have this really cool ability to, really ingest music for a short period of time and then go on to the next and hear, listen to them, but get a sampling of so many different styles of of music, and it comes, from building relationships with publicists and managers, and and bands, and kind of, they offer me other bands that are interesting, and and that's kind of how Vinny and Carmine came to me as well, because I have a relationship with John Lappin, who they work with, and John's been great, and I've worked with him for years, and so it's just really awesome to get to talk to so many different people, and and long form interviews too, where we get to dig in, deep, and go back to, what music they were raised on, and especially now where they're at with COVID, how this affected them, right? Because it affects everybody differently, and we're all in this together, and everybody's got a freaking story. So it's getting to the root of that, and that's what I love about it, right? And with podcasting, there's no time constraints or rules or anything along those lines, which is,
I think you're doing a great job. You think you missed the Martin Barr portion of our Jethro Tull beginning of the show here? Okay,
matter of fact, I've got him coming up in a little while for on a podcast for Beatles. I'm so sorry I missed it. What a great guy! What a
great guy!
This guy.
We had him on last year. Yeah.
And one of the things about Tull, they always Ian would always write the music and record it, and then try to find words that matched up for it. He always did it backwards, and he's very angry about it. And then Martin would have different things to say. But how cool is it that you can pick up a phone or somebody get in touch with you, and here's a guitarist from the biggest band there was in America, in the world, for a few months in 1970 or 71, however, it was all through that thing. And Aqualung has still got everything that people identify with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there at the beginning of it. And, and Steve was there to tell you what we were doing wrong.
We were there at the way in the beginning when we had a show in Chicago.
Yes.
At the Kinetic Playground.
Wow.
Opening act, Jethro Tull.
Yes.
Second on the bill, Led Zeppelin and Vanilla Fudge headlining.
But by the way, I got to interrupt for a second. I played just a couple of weeks ago, I played Led Zeppelin, and we were talking about opening acts. And I said, Zeppelin, opening act in America for a band by the name of Vanilla Fudge. And I got an email back in 16-point type that said, bullshit. I said,
was that from Vinny?
Probably.
Yeah, I did it.
So, Carmine, I wrote back, I said, look, the Beatles opened for Helen Shapiro.
Yeah.
The bands that last are because you learned how to tour. Yeah. You learned how to start. You're always the bottom of the bill to start. If you start there, you can build yourself up, and then you learn. Is that the poster?
Yeah,
awesome.
That's the poster. Yeah.
Wow, there it is.
Kinetic Playground. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the funny thing about that is, I got to know Bonzo really well, and we never knew the drummer of Jethro Tull, who was
at that point
Clive Bunker at the time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So when Clive was on with Jethro Tull, me and Bonzo were off to the side backstage throwing spitballs at him.
Classy.
Right?
Very
right.
Brooklyn in the house, baby.
And then when Zeppelin went on, me and Clive threw spitballs at John. And of course, when I was on, I got spitballs by Clive and John. So I'll always remember that gig. Yeah, unbelievable. It was really a fun, amazing gig.
You guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Our hour is gone already. Best of luck to you guys. We're going to stay in touch with you guys. Would you guys come back on our show?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, do I have time for a quick question?
Absolutely.
For Carmine and Vinny, and because it just came up last week.
Yeah.
Somebody said I was raving about Ringo. I had just played. I forgot we were talking about. What I said we played "Come Together," and I said you could put any drummer in that room, from Buddy Rich, to Bonzo Bonham. I said to Carmine, because I knew we were coming on, who would have come up with that drum pad for "Come Together"? Who would have come up with that riff? And somebody emailed me and said, "Oh, you can't put him in the same category as Neil Peart." And as I've always, to me, and I want to take it from you guys, Ringo Starr is the greatest drummer for the Beatles. And it's always, are you the best drummer for your band? Nobody else could play like you.
And Ringo played melodic. Go ahead, Vinny.
Well, Ringo played melodic. He was very creative. Anybody could play 2/4 through a Ho song. You listen to the Beatles, there's hangs, there's cool fills, then Ringo might be playing on the tom or just all these different parts, and it's incredible. Also, in the Beatles mixes, which nobody does, drums go up sometimes. Like if you listen to Day Tripper, drums get loud all of a sudden. Then when the voices come back in, they're pulled back. We don't do that, nowadays. Everybody
now it's all automatic.
but they mix the drums into the song, which is incredible. And Ringo's parts are incredible.
Thank you.
That's so cool.
I agree. Exactly the same thing. Ringo.
Nobody would have came up with dong dong da 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 da.
Exactly.
Where'd that come from?
Melodic.
I wonder if some of that stuff is Paul.
Some of it was.
Oh yeah.
But I, you know what? Before Ringo, most drummers just used to play time.
Yeah.
But he came up with the concept of drum parts.
Instead
of time. You get all the songs of those days, all the Motown and everything, R&B, Tommy Rowe, anybody, they all just play time behind. But he came up with parts which were, at the time, I didn't even understand what he was doing. So I was playing R&B and I thought he sucked.
Right.
But later, when they did the Revolver album and Day Tripper and Rain and stuff like that, even that Fill in Rain, we followed the bass. It was like awesome stuff.
As I said, where do you come in on Here Comes the Sun? Just that alone is one of the greatest choices I ever. A musician, not just a drummer, like you said, keeping time, but a musician. Where do you come in? There's no place to come in, but he found it.
Yeah. Carmine would play through everything, and then I came up with all the good parts.
Yeah.
And I'm there.
Thank you, Vinny. But Vinny played with John Lennon. I met all the Beatles except Ringo.
Oh.
I never met Ringo. Did you ever meet Ringo, Vinny?
He's really
I just met John.
Yeah, you met John. I met Paul. I told you guys about that story of George Harrison carrying the Vanilla Fudge album to parties. Confirmed it with Paul. When we were doing the second Cactus album, Paul came in, George came into Electric Lady Studios, and we met him. And I said, wow, this is great. I met him. That was the first Beatle I ever met. Then I met Paul, and I met John with my mother's story of the lasagna.
Greatest story ever. I've used that so many times. You guys rock.
Yeah, and then I never, ever met Ringo. And at one point, they called me to do the Ringo All-Stars tour, right? And I was so excited. And then that year, they had recorded that album with John's voice, right? They recorded the album. And so they released that album. And that year, they didn't do the Ringo tour.
Oh, man.
And then the next year they did it. They got somebody else, Sheila E., I think. And I said, oh man.
Perfect. Sheila E. and you, I could see the comparison.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, that. Go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, like, he's become, I would never say a friend, just an acquaintance. It's just, he's so easygoing. Hey, Ringo wants to call in. Great. Hey, Rich, how's it going? Great, Ken. I heard it's snowing. And just, it's like Paul, it's effortless to him.
You call him Rich? Wait a second. You call him Rich? Richard Starkey? You actually call him Rich?
Yeah. It became, when a guy says, call me Rich, like, okay, you jumped over the wall.
I was trying to find out. I'm thinking, who the hell is Rich?
I never heard anybody.
You can't really.
What is that, Vin? What is that?
John Lennon and Vinny. That's the band.
That's me. Wait a minute.
They had makeup on.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
See? That's me right to John's left there, or to the right, looking at the
right
picture.
there, yeah.
Right. Is that with John Colbert? When John Colbert was part of that, right?
Yeah, John Colbert. Where is he? There he is in the back. See?
Yep.
Is that Freddie Mercury?
Where?
Looks like Freddie Mercury to me. I don't know. They all look like Freddie Mercury to me.
That was 1975. It's because John thought the show was for Sir Lude Grade in England, and John thought he was a two-faced entertainment executive. So we went on with two faces on our head with no hair.
You know,
And
it's
he went
funny
on in red jumpsuit. We went on in black jumpsuits. It was really cool.
about Kevin
Brilliant.
Bacon's 6 degrees of separation. Well, my Kevin Bacon is Carmine apiece because I know everybody. I know Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, Robert Plant, all because of my 2 degree separation through Carmine.
With Carmine.
You guys, thank you so
I drink
much
that.
for the show, man.
This is really vodka.
Yeah,
Sure.
we need
So
everybody.
if we're going to be back again, let me interrupt your final thing. We're going to do this up again. Everybody gets one of your jackets. And we got the very special bumper stickers. It'll be perfect
There it
for
is.
everything you're doing, just like that. Yeah.
Where the hell is Uncle Joe?
Well, we
That's
got
a good question.
the other bumper sticker that says on Hangin' and Bangin', Artists on Lockdown. That's the other part of your bumper sticker.
Yeah, there you go.
I want a
We
bumper
need
sticker.
everybody.
I want his jacket.
I'm sorry, I would not put anything on my bumpers.
We need everybody to like. To
My cars are too expensive or too nice.
See, Joe, Ken, Steve, look what I can do.
That's the old car.
I'm trying to get a word in. Impossible.
That's an older car.
Steve, thank you very much. We'll be listening to your
That's
podcast.
an older car again.
Concert Pipeline. Good luck to you, buddy. Ken,
Yeah, man.
keep doing what you're doing. Thank God for guys like you who are keeping it real, keeping the story. And
Thank you so much for having me on. This was a joy. This was a true joy.
Yeah, it's
Thank
a lot
you
of
for
fun.
thinking of me.
We have a great time. Next week we got Kenny Onoff and Simon Kirk.
Oh man,
Oh my
Simon's
God.
a great friend. Oh, well, so speaking of Beatles, ask Simon his George Harrison, his Friar Park story.
Okay.
Well, we write that down here.
One of the greatest stories. That's one of the greatest Beatles. Here's my 2 greatest Beatles stories: is your lasagna story
Yeah.
Right.
and Simon Kirk's Friar Park New Year's Eve story.
Okay. You
We'll
got it.
open up the show with that. Thanks again, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Next Thursday.
Thank you, guys.
Joe, good to
Everybody
see
be
you.
safe.
Steve,
Joe,
thank
great to
Ciao.
see you, my friend. Be well.
Yes.
Ciao.
Bye, guys.
All the
Bye.
best, everyone.
All the best.
Right.